Christ.
No!
Now, the Neil Rogers Show on 560 WQAM.
1 million times for Neil Rogers. He's in his house. Absolutely correct, sir.
Oh! Here's another one for you, Howie. No extra charge. Wasn't that Bernie Getz who said, here's another one for you? I think it was.
I'll be a student. I play the tuba. Be on the honor roll. That ain't surprising. 'Cause in Florida, school ain't no problem at all. This be my tuba. This be my gun. But tubas don't make you dead. I killed my teacher. It was an accident. I bust a cap in his head. Yo.
.902 at 560 WQAM. Happy Tuesday to you. In paradise, everybody. 971 votes on our survey yesterday, and of course we asked one of those strange questions that we ask on this show because unlike a lot of other boring shows, terminal shows where they pontificate and say nothing, this is a strange show, and it's always going to continue to be a strange show, and no asshole is going to come in and tell us what to say on this show, whether it's politically correct or incorrect. They can stuff it, whether it's shtick or they can just stick it, as a matter of fact. Well, we'll get to that in a second, okay? 971 votes on the survey. We asked, have you ever been required to swim naked in gym class? Because, and you see, when things happen to you in life, you assume that everybody else is required to go through the same crap. In high school, in Canandaigua Academy, in Canandaigua, New York, a little town of 10,000 people, we were forced to we were required to swim naked in gym class. Not that it's a big deal, but it seems to me it's rather dehumanizing and embarrassing, especially if you have a very small penis. Anyway, no, absolutely not. 830 people said that, 85.5%, but that means 14.5% shared that experience. Oh! Let's hear it because misery loves company. Right, Howard? Yes, in public school, 62. Yes, at the YMCA, 57. Yes, in private or parochial school, 21. So almost 15% of the audience had to be subjected to the same ignominious crap, embarrassment, and humiliation as I was, and that makes me feel better. Didn't that make you feel better, George?
Much.
Since you were the one that thought that, oh, Neil just made that up. He's just talking more facts.
I don't think you made it up. I just thought it was unique to your situation or maybe that town and that time.
Well, Canandaigua is kind of an unusual town. But anyway, here's a fax. Our first fax of the morning, and a very good one, too, and it fits right in with what I'm going to talk about. Because I was sitting here 7:15 this morning. See, Howard, I know you're frustrated because you couldn't get George fired, and that was a very good call there right toward the end of the show. Oh! That was excellent. I know you're very upset because you got all bent out of shape about that baby Schmidt, all that baby crap about those silly faxes, all of which basically said the same silly crap that we've been saying here on the show. But you see, we actually have an office pool. That's what I discovered from some of the contacts I had. Not George. George isn't the mole anymore. But from that big QAM ratings party last night, they were taking up an office pool. How many people will Howard David try to get fired by the 4th of July? And the way it's working so far, it's not going to happen. Although he does have a lot of people very intimidated, some of the underlings who are very, very nervous because they know if they don't genuflect, kiss his ring, and look at him crosswise, then they're probably going to get their ass fired, or at least he'll do his best. See, here's a guy that came into town, and if you'll recall, try to remember, I was the only one after that article in Barry Jackass when he made the comment about how sports talk is boring and he's going to do this. And, of course, Hank took exception to that, and Mad Dog took exception to it. And the other people on the station were like, like that, Like, what's this guy all about? He's an asshole, things like that, which I guess maybe they were more perceptive than I was. But at any rate, I stood up. I thought, hey, here's a guy who's like a national play-by-play guy. I've heard his play-by-play. He's very good at that, and it's, it's great, as opposed to having like some punk from off the street come in here. So I actually did give the guy a chance, and then I heard that show. And now, of course, I hear the biting social commentary, the riveting social commentary that goes on every morning, most of which are incorrect. But nevertheless, I don't know about you, but when I get up in the morning, now grant you, sports talk can be pretty ponderous and boring, especially now when there's nothing really going on there. Nothing except a baseball team that nobody cares about. But the fact of the matter is when I get up and roll out of the sack in the morning, I don't want to be like hit blindsided with all the morbid, depressing stuff first thing in the morning. With somebody pontificating like the authority of mankind. Anyway, here's this fax. And then we'll get back to Moe Howard and his most, in fact, I would say that what I heard at 7:15 this morning was the most intemperate, irresponsible comment in the history of radio. Nice going, Moe. Not everybody can say that. I mean, the comment he made about Dave Johnson, that was just Moe being stupid. You see, this goes back to Greg Reed again. Just because some guy's a good play-by-play guy doesn't make him into a talk show host. You can sit any asshole in the world down behind a microphone, and that doesn't make them a talk show host. That doesn't mean that they know where to draw the line, or they have any common sense or concept of the things that you say and the things that you don't say, such as the irresponsible crap I heard about 7:15 this morning as I was sitting here downloading some stories. Anyway, here's a fax from our young African-American soldier. And by the way, I'd like to point this out to you, Howie. I guarantee we got a lot more dark folks listening to this show right now than you'll ever have if you're on the air for like more than 5 more minutes. Guaranteed. We have many, many dark folks who listen to this show, and you know something? They understand this show. They understand the humor. They got a good sense of humor, which they have to survive. And this isn't, the Neil Rogers Show didn't just start when you came flying into town, okay, sweetheart? I've been doing this stuff and trying to desensitize people and lighten them up a few shades for years on this program. And you can call it shtick, or you can just plain shtick it if you like. But the fact is, no slob from out of town with a bad hairpiece is going to come into this town with his lime green pants and tell Neil Rogers or anybody else, I don't think, what to say on the air. It isn't going to work, sweetheart. Not going to happen. I'm not worried about being politically correct. As a matter of fact, Bill Maher's getting fired, not because politically incorrect is out these days, but because it was a crappy show. Just keep that in mind, Howie, Moho, whatever the hell your name is. Just keep that in mind. People who do bad shows get canceled. Anyway, here's a fax from our young African-American soldier. It says, no callers, stay firm. Well, I'm trying. I'm squeezing it right now, although this time in the morning it's not too firm. It says, Neil, I don't know if you were listening to the station this morning. Yes, I was. But there was something said that really annoyed me. An asshole caller named Pat called in and jumped Howard about the race issue in reference to the reporting of the young Hispanic girl and her boyfriend being kidnapped on the beach and later the female killed. The caller was upset because Howard had not reported about the young black girl that was burned in a car a few nights ago. Well, first of all, she was Haitian. Secondly, I'm afraid of the entire report being released because neither the police nor we know the entire story. 2 guys with a Jamaican accent and dreadlocks just don't walk up to a female for no reason, push her into a car and set it on fire. They've got better things to do, like monitor their street pharmaceutical sales. See, here's a guy who knows where it is, where it be at. Howard then, to suck the ass of the asshole caller named Pat, played a Barry White song, I guess to prove that he's not a racist. And then went on to say that he listens to that stuff on that very station, and the guy would be shot in the head if it was any other place. Face it, he was talking about Mad Dog. Well, at least the African soldier got a good sense of humor. Why is it his responsibility to report on local news? He's being paid to talk sports. It sucks that he's making so much, and you are
absolutely correct, sir.
But talk sports, damn it. Why does he constantly try to slip in little innuendos to get at you at your show? Well, the fact of the matter is he's an overgrown child. And there's nothing worse than people who live to be a certain age, like, 65, 70, whatever he is, and just never outgrow their childishness because it comes back to ego. Here is a man who really, you know what he needs? He needs an ego transplant. He needs an ego adjustment. They're always talking about having attitude adjustment. He needs an ego adjustment. Because those of us who've been in a business more than 5 minutes, we're not impressed by your ego, by your pomposity, Howard. We don't care. We don't give a crap. But anyway, the actual comment was, in regard to that, in the context of that conversation about race, and he's saying that everybody is so sensitive now, which I find amusing, because here's a guy that just a few months ago wrote this book called Nigger, and now we're desensitizing people from using that word, and the idea being, which I've been trying to do for years, using words like kike and spick and nigger, because they're just words. They're just words. It's desensitizing people to that stuff, so they're not all uptight and getting bent out of shape over just words. But here's a guy that says, well, we've got, and of course it's never by name. He won't dignify me since the email episode by mentioning me by name on the air. And certainly not George. Not that little spick. Oh, I'm sorry. Under the guise of shtick, we've got, in certain day parts on this station, somebody, if he was saying these things in other market, he would have a bullet through his head. I actually wrote it down just to make sure I got it fairly close. Of course, we could have the clip from the audio from on the air, but he's got everybody so intimidated in the other room who work on his show that they don't dare provide that audio to us, because then Howard would be running around. He'd be on the phone with Greg and with corporate and having a nervous breakdown trying to get them fired, and we don't want to see that happen. So we don't really need to have the audio to play it, because I'm sure a few of you actually heard it. Under the guise of shtick, here's a guy, if he was saying these things in another market, he would wind up with a bullet through his head. The most irresponsible comment in the history of talk radio, Moho. And if it was coming from somebody that I felt had any idea what the hell they were doing, I might be concerned about it. Anyway, thanks to my Africuna soldier for your facts, because you're right on target. At least you got your thumb right on it. But I guess it's the outpouring of frustration from the fact that George isn't getting suspended, George isn't getting fired, And we're not going to overreact to a bunch of baby crap. In fact, I'm not at liberty to tell you all of the stuff that's happened as a result of his tantrum so far and how it affected some of the people in our building, but suffice it to say, there's been a lot of angst and anguish and wringing of hands and psychosis because of much ado about nothing. Grow up, sweetheart. That's my best suggestion to you. Check your ego at the door every morning when you walk in there. Grow up and maybe let Geldy say something once in a while. Even with that squeaky voice, he actually knows what the hell he's talking about on occasion, especially about hockey. I didn't hear anything about hockey this morning. I heard somebody hawking a Chinik about race and about politically correct and everybody's uptight and we're all sensitive. I don't think that's the case at all. And as a matter of fact, we're going to take a poll on that just to see whether I'm right or wrong. And whether I am some kind of a racist son of a bitch. Now, we have asked that in the past, but this is a little bit different. Not that long ago we asked whether I was a racist. Remember that?
I do.
Yes. But anyway, our question today, which is a little bit different, do you have any problem with Neil's comedy bits or comments about race? Eric, let's make sure that race is in capital letters in dark black race. Here are your 4 choices. No, they're funny as hell. No, I agree with them. Yes, he's a racist. Or, no, and Howard David is an asshole. Those are your 4 choices this morning. Do you have any problem with Neil's comedy bits or comments about race? Race in italics or capital letters? I'll leave it up to you, Eric, since you're the expert at putting things in big dark black. No, they're funny as hell. No, I agree with him. Yes, he's a racist. Or no, and Howard David is an asshole. Those are your 4 choices. Let me see which one I'm going to vote for. I'm thinking. 12 minutes after 9 at 560, your family station, WQAM. That's right. We're family, baby. We be family. See, and I wasted all that time talking about that crap. I got a lot of important stuff to take care of here today. You know what? I got some important stories. Oh, don't put any of these people on hold, Miguel. Don't waste your time. In fact, let me take care of that one for you. There you go. Bye-bye. No calls today. Remember that song, No Milk Today, with the Herman's Hermits?
Yes.
There's a good bit for Boca Brian. No calls today. The callers went away.
We might have
like
one.
That. We do. What is it called?
It might be called No Calls.
Huh?
I don't know. I'll find it. Or call him.
Well, you work on it, okay? And you know something? The more I hear you babbling about this and mumbling, I'm thinking maybe Moho's got a point. Just a joke. So how was the party last night?
Fine. Wonderful.
And you let me down again. Didn't I say call me when the party started? I thought I said that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Of course, that was Mo Green who said that. And look what happened to him. Got shot right in the head, right through the glasses.
Hey, it's Howard. Howard David.
Tonight, a special History Channel presentation. A reenactment from the actual transcripts of the Tuskegee Airmen. Berlin, 1944. The German skies darken with the first all-black B-17 bomber squadron.
Where aren't you, Fro? How we be looking back down?
30 seconds for my pee.
Or you can pee later. Just tell me when we over to talking.
Yeah, bro, we got some problems.
Yo.
We ain't got no balls.
Huh?
Oh, we got this watermelon.
Now, how'd that be?
Well, it's all green.
We'll drop 'em anyway on these coordinates. 5, 6, 7. Oh.
Oh. This watermelon's doing here.
The Tuskegee Airmen Watermelon Sortie. Tonight, only on the History Channel.
See, there you go again, you relentless son of a bitch, you racist bastard, you. 918 at 560 WQAM. Maverick Dutch right-wing politician Pim Fortune has been shot dead 9 days before a general election in which his party was expected to make big gains in the Netherlands. Fortune, 54, was shot in the head and chest at least 3 times at close range 6 p.m. yesterday as he was leaving a radio station in Hilversum, 20 miles southeast of Amsterdam, 12 miles southeast of Amsterdam. The killing is cast doubt over whether elections May 15 will actually go ahead. His death was officially announced later in the evening by Prime Minister Wim Kok. After this assassination, Pim Fortune is gone, Kok said in The Hague after breaking off a campaign engagement. This is a deep tragedy. I'm shocked. It's a tragedy for those close to him, for his loved ones, and for our country and our democracy, yada yada. A man who was believed to have been carrying a gun is reported to have been arrested outside the media park in Hilversum. Journalist Sander Van Hoorn told CNN Fortune was shot in the head just behind his left ear and in his neck and his chest. Fortune's spokesman Matt Drudge told Reuters the cigar-chomping politician had received regular death threats. Most Dutch political leaders travel without bodyguards, often using public transport. The only exceptions were Kok as head of government. Fortune, however, had his own bodyguards, and his party headquarters in Rotterdam were always guarded. He had been involved in minor scuffles with protesters in the past. Opinion polls showed that Fortune's newly formed Leefbaar Nederland party, Livable Netherlands, running on an anti-immigration platform, was on course to win about 15% of the vote in parliamentary elections. CNN European political editor Robin Oakley said Fortune might have been part of a coalition government. Fortune, a former TV analyst, was a plain-speaking politician who targeted fears over immigration, saying that the Netherlands was full up. He criticized Muslims for not embracing Dutch culture. He also said that being gay, he would be persecuted in a Muslim country. He was a gay right-winger. Well, that's what he was. Fortune's rise mirrors a right-wing resurgence in several European countries, which we've talked about in France, etc., and so on. British Prime Minister Tony Blair canceled his visit to the Netherlands today, saying, whatever feelings political figures arouse, the ballot box is the place to express them. In other words, please don't shoot me, is what he said. So there you go with that. And it goes to show you, crazy people with guns, no matter where they have them in the world, they are dangerous. Crazy people with guns. I just mentioned that for my good friend Glenn in Miramar, and please don't fax me, okay? Waste our fax paper. I just mentioned that for your benefit and all the other NRA gun-squeezing assholes out there. How's that new poll coming on there? Because this one I think is going to be pretty interesting. And I'm going to tell you right now, if I find that I'm offending a lot of people out there, I may have to reconsider those comedy bits, you know what? Don't you think? Huh?
Sure.
Don't you think?
Yeah, let's scrap them all.
Although it's funny, when we took the poll about the comedy bits, about the Boca Brian bits a few days ago, what was the most popular one? The Restitution song, Kiss a Nigger Good Morning, which was very funny to some people, including our new morning guy, up until those emails, that little incident. But now this is his way, like a little child, of getting back. Done in the name of shtick. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Hey, give it a rest, Howie, okay? Blow it out your ass. Pontificating. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. You know, I'm unimpressed. Anyway, car arson burns North Miami woman. And this is the story that they were saying, how come he and the other media people weren't talking more about this, and also that little girl, which we have a story about. And the judge there about Rilya, little 5-year-old Rilya, Judge Letterman, she's having a nervous breakdown. In fact, they keep showing her outburst on CNN this morning. Nice going, let's vote for her. What do you say? If she's an elected judge, she's the best.
Absolutely.
Now, what's happening on the poll? Is your screen blank on there now? Is he working on it?
No,
Oh, there it is.
Okay.
What did I tell you, man? I'm telling you, my psychic. How about yesterday? Remember I was talking to you on the phone about various matters? And I mentioned Clarence's name, our, who's taken over while Duff's on vacation. And I mentioned that, and the other phone rang. And who was it?
Clarence.
How do you like that? My psychic powers are, I put that Miss Cleo to shame, that bitch. And I wouldn't even have to rip anybody off. Let's put it on our website, Neil's Psychic Reading, something like that. Let's see. Here's the initial 7 votes on there. Do you have any problems with Neil's comedy bits or comments about race? No, and Howard David's an asshole, 3. No, they're funny as hell, 2. No, I agree with them, 1. And yes, he's a racist, 1. I didn't know Howard had access to a computer this early. I guess maybe in the bullpen. Car arson burns North Miami woman. In North Miami, police are trying to piece together the events that led to 21-year-old Odeline Modestine almost being burned alive inside her car early Monday morning. Modestine's injuries were so severe she couldn't speak yesterday, so detectives canvassed her North Miami neighborhood and interviewing relatives and neighbors and sifting through the charred remains of her green Toyota Camry. Lead detective Alonzo Reimer called the case very unusual. He said Modestine's family told police she arrived at her house on the 1300 block of Northeast 135th Street about 2 a.m. Monday, but soon went out to get a book from her car. That's when 2 men with dreadlocks, who spoke with Jamaican accents, came up to her and asked for her keys, Reimer said. When she refused, they ordered her inside the car, doused it with a flammable liquid, and set it on fire. Laughing, they set the car on fire and ran, said Modestine's brother Patrick's. That's when she got out of the car and started screaming. At first, we thought that she was crying because her car was burning. But he quickly realized his sister's cries were due to her burning skin and not because of the flaming car. Unable to put his emotions into words, all her father, Pierre Modestine, could say was that his daughter was studying to be a teacher. It's bad, very bad, as he motioned to these sections of the body where his daughter was burned: face, neck, torso, arms, and legs. Odeline Modestine was in critical yet stable condition late Monday at Jackson Memorial Hospital's Ryder Trauma Center, with burns covering more than 36% of her body. Neighbors said they smelled what they thought were chemicals or wires burning. We thought maybe it was an air conditioner. Then we heard this boom, said Rudvey Taylor, who was staying with nearby relatives. When we went outside and saw it was a fire, we didn't know the girl was in the car. Modestine recently graduated from Miami-Dade Community College and is majoring in secondary education at FIU. At Miami-Dade, she was introduced to a high school friend who would eventually become her husband. Alcee Colin, 25, and Modestine were married Friday in a private civil ceremony, he said. The first time he saw her, he told her he was going to marry her. Monday, when he saw her at the hospital, he wasn't sure what to say. She doesn't think she's going to be the same, he said. On Saturday, the day after their wedding, here comes the very suspicious part. The day after their wedding, the back seat of Modestine's car was slashed. Police are looking for a possible connection between the two incidents, said North Miami Police spokeswoman Kathleen Ruggiero. Colin said he doesn't have any idea who might do this. She didn't have any enemies. How do you like that? So a couple of Jamaican scumbags. I just mentioned that in passing. Now, is that a racial comment when I say that?
Yeah, sure. Who cares?
No, it's not. No matter who the hell did it, they did it.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the word Jamaican.
Don't pick up? What is that? Oh, don't pick up. Is that to the tune of Don't Hang Up by the
That's
Orleans?
it.
See,
That's
now
our
only
bit.
Boca Brian and I remember Don't Hang Up by Little Eva and the, no, that was the Cookies. Little Eva and the Cookies. But the Orleans did Don't Hang Up. Oh, Don't Pick Up. Is that what it's called? Don't
That's
Pick
what
Up?
it's
Where the hell
called,
would
right?
I find that?
Don't pick up, no. Who needs those chronic callers? Don't pick up, no. The same assortment of assholes that always call you on the phone, want to hear their voice on the radio. Don't pick up. They contribute nothing to the show. Don't pick up, no. The show sounds fine this way. Don't pick up.
No.
We've already heard it all. Thank God Neil God has the balls to do his show without the calls. Don't pick up. Let them go find something else to do. No more chronic losers like the guy with the eyes. No Paul Harvey Jr. too, and Eddie's gone. Thanks to you. Don't pick up, no. We like the way it's going. Don't pick up, no. What more can these morons add to Are You a Fudge Packet Bag? Or can I call someone douchebag? Don't pick up. In their place, the fax machine will do.
Excellent. Good timing. 9:27 at 560 WQM.
Number one.
We're number one.
Sports Radio 560 QAM.
Hey, it's Howard. Howard Sperm.
Okay, let me just interrupt to read a very important fact here. It says, Dear Neil, please don't play that song that goes, Kiss a N blank 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 good morning. I listen from work and there are a lot of colored people here. Yesterday I caught myself singing that song out loud. God damn it, I'm going to get fired. And by the way, F. Moe. P.S. It's a freaking catchy song. Love Wee Wee. Oh, love comma Wee Wee. That wasn't like an editorial comment, as in love Wee Wee.
They want us to find a way to reimburse them for back pay.
Yes.
From 200 years ago when they were slaves.
Loan me $50.
When I only have a mobile home, a pit bull and a pinch of skull. So if you wanna ask me how, here's what I gotta say. You've got to kiss a nigger good morning.
All right.
You tell them that you're sorry for enslaving them all. Kiss a nigger good morning. And that's for everybody who is dead and gone. If I was born in 1802, owning slaves ain't something I do. But what for dead people did to you, I have to take the blame. When you settle for an old Pontiac with a can of smelly cherry and back, instead of 40 acres and a mule, I have a better way. You've got to kiss a nigger good morning.
I want to give you a kiss.
And one on Halle Berry, Morgan Freeman too.
All right.
Kiss a nigger good morning. And that's your restitution for enslaving you. Kiss a nigger good morning. And tell them that you're sorry for enslaving them all. You got to kiss a nigger good morning. And that's for everybody who is dead and gone.
There you go, Wee Wee. That's for you. 9:32 at 560. Father Shanley is getting arraigned there in Cambridge, Mass.
Tonight, that he is dumbfounded by apparently a new batch of documents that have been unearthed at the Archdiocese of Boston on Monday. What we do know so far is the documents that have been released by the Archdiocese have been incredibly damaging. They show that Shanley advocated sex between children and adults, and that he was an early adherent of a group that later became the North American Man-Boy.
Yeah, we know all of that, Paul. That's old stuff. Okay, give us something new. Give us something exciting and new that we don't already know, bitch. God, that Paul is on, man. Barbie doll. And are you watching CNN?
Right now.
You see that he's standing there with that look on his puss? Man.
What a model pasty
seriously.
old troll.
Oh, brother, old troll is an understatement of the century. And they were reading documents before, during the break. I was listening to some of the audio about some of the documents that were passed from the Archdiocese, from the Honorable Cardinal Law, and back and forth from this one and that one, about, well, how he had plans to, like, live in a foreign country and like to be anonymous and with a P.O. box in the U.S., which probably would be the best advice at this time, et cetera. And so, in other words, let's ship him off somewhere where he can go hide instead of putting him in jail where he belongs. Well, guess what? Did it work?
No.
No, thank goodness. Thank the Lord.
Oh, God.
Right. Scumbag.
Certain kinds of lines. I know from the materials that I've had an opportunity to review here for the first time this morning.
Oh, this is his lawyer. How'd you like to be his attorney, huh? How'd you like to be in this poor guy's shoes?
No thanks.
Representing a serial child molester. Scumbag son of a bitch. Anyway, hey, the second annual Goldies Gang Golf Classic benefiting underprivileged children in South Florida is coming up Friday, June 21st. At the Inverary Golf Country Club, $75 a player, two-man scramble. For more info, call 305-650-0163, or you can get more information about it on the QAM website, WQAM.com. That's coming up June 21st, Friday, Inverary Country Club, $75 a player. So you got a lot of time, and I'm going to stick that back here. We'll give some promos, because Geldy's a good guy, right? Even with a squeaky voice, we like Geldy, and what a shame he has to work with that piece of turd. Speaking of race, court rules against doctor's will that required money to be spent on white patients. This is quite a story.
Yeah.
Thanks very much again to my Boston.com fanatic out there who keeps faxing me this stuff every day. That is a great website. It's the Boston Globe ongoing, in other words, current news stuff that keeps coming off from the Boston Globe site. Boston.com. Anyway, Baltimore, Maryland appeals courts ended a legal battle over a doctor's will that left several $1 million to a home for the elderly, but required that the money be spent on a new building for white patients. The Maryland Court of Appeals ruled yesterday that such provisions are illegal and cannot be enforced by the state's courts. The ruling addressed the 1962 will of Dr. Jesse Coggins. He left money to the Keswick Multicare Center in Baltimore, but attached the stipulation that the money go to white patients who need physical rehabilitation. That would be like if I left all my money, what I have left after Mitch Hirsch decimated my portfolio. Well, I left all my money after I croaked, after I take that bullet to the head, to like golden retrievers, you know. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Although you can't do that, can't you?
I guess, yeah, sure, why
not? Well, no, because they have like Doberman Rescue. The dogs have like various, I'm not comparing dogs with people, but I'm just pointing out that you could do that and nobody could make a big stink about it. Well, how come we can't separate the money? Well, anyway. In its ruling, the Court of Appeals held that the center was entitled to about $30 million. The ruling overturned a 99 Circuit Court decision that went against the care center, which has contended for years it should not lose the money simply because it does not discriminate on the basis of race. The will provided that if the center follows the provisions, the money should go to the University of Maryland Medical System instead. Judge John Elridge wrote that the question was whether a court will enforce the racially discriminatory condition by ordering that the proceeds be paid to the alternative beneficiary. Our answer to this question shall be no, Elridge wrote. Instead, the provisions of the will should be applied to without giving any effect to the word white. Without the word white in there. So in other words, some Schwarzers, some Chinese, some Japanese, some Hondurans, some Mexicans, some Cuban people might get it instead of just white people. Former South Florida altar boy says he was forced into orgies with priests. This from the Sun Sentinel. Boy. Hollywood, Florida no less. A former altar boy sued the Vatican, the Archdiocese of Miami, and two Roman Catholic priests yesterday, saying he was forced to participate in orgies with priests as a teenager 30 years ago. The new lawsuit filed against Father Ricardo Castellanos and Father Alvaro Guichard is in connection with a 3-decade-old sexual abuse case, according to the law offices of Herman and Mermelstein, which is located on Sterling Road, probably not too far from Mommy's house on Sterling Road. You know Sterling Road?
Very well.
You know the Ark?
Of course.
Don't eat there.
Never been there.
Good. Don't eat there. The former altar boy is 45-year-old Jose Albino Corrales Jr. He's the second male to come forward, claiming he was the victim of the two priests while they worked in the Church of the Little Flower in Coral Gables. The suit alleges Corrales, then around 15, was sexually abused by the two priests then forced to join a sex ring and sexually serve as visiting priest over a 3-year period. Oh, I gotta read that line again.
Please.
The suit alleges Curious, then around 15, was sexually abused by 2 priests, then forced to join a sex ring and sexually serve as visiting priest over a 3-year period. Curious said he told numerous people over the years about the abuse, including friends and his therapist, but never went public because of the shame. I didn't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I'm here to stop this from happening to other kids, Curious said, noting that Castellanos and Guichard are still priests in South Florida. Curious, maybe I'm pronouncing that wrong. It's C-U-R-R-A-I-S, Curray.
You got me.
Well, whatever. He also said he could have sued anonymously, but the only way to handle this is to confront this and say my name. Curray specifically charges that both Castellanos and Guichard hosted orgies at the Church of Little Flower, where the priest had sex with numerous teenage boys. Curray also alleges Castellanos operated a teenage prostitution ring, where he and other boys had sex with visiting seminarians from Rome. The abuse occurred between 1971 and 74. He said he's seeking unspecified damages in the suit, which was filed in circuit court in Fort Lauderdale yesterday. Archdiocese of Miami spokeswoman Mary Ross Augusta said yesterday she couldn't comment on the allegations because the Archdiocese, of course, hasn't yet received a copy of the lawsuit. Guichard now works at St. Francis de Sales Catholic Church in Miami Beach. Castellanos is pastor at San Isidro Catholic Church in Pompano Beach. The new allegations against the 2 priests came just 2 weeks after Rita Chinchilla and Miguel Chinchilla Sr. Coral Gables filed a lawsuit in Dade Circuit Court alleging that Miguel Chinchilla Jr. was repeatedly molested in the 70s by 2 priests who remain active in the local archdiocese. Chinchilla Jr. died in 1993 at age 31 after years of drug abuse and promiscuous sex that his family said was triggered by the abuse. Church officials in Miami denied the charges, as did Guichard and Castellanos. All of them said the family is hoping to make money. They specifically point to a 1988 affidavit signed by Chinchilla Jr. in which he exonerated the priest and said he was pressured by a therapist to make up the allegations, and of course that story was later recanted. So there you go. You believe whoever you want, okay? I would say that their credibility at this point a little bit thin. Right. The church I'm talking about, just a little bit thin. Any of them men in dresses. There's Father Shanley.
The greatest physical health.
Who pleads innocent.
Who has no inclination to run.
Right. Lock the door and throw away the key, just like on Guiding Light, okay?
Want a lollipop, little boy?
Yes. Look at who that is. Everybody look at who that is. Lordy, Lordy, look at who that is. Daddy Willie T. Ribs. He's a racing whiz. Race around in his car, that is. The race driver that never wins. Daddy Willie T. Ribs.
Now see here, all you kids. They call me Mr. Ribs. One day soon I'll win a race in my Rocket 88. Oh, well, hey, baby. You sure look fine today.
Uh-huh, Mr. Ribs, did you win the race?
Oh, well, I came in at 35th place.
Well, you earned yourself some ribs on a plate.
Forget that, honey. How's about a date?
He ain't gonna take that chance. Not if you keep coming in last.
Is that why you don't go out with me?
You ain't too slow. You can't compete.
Well, I may be slow on the street, but I sure be fast on my feet.
They call him Mr. Ribs.
9:46. Happy Tuesday to you here on 560 QM. We got the Mad Dog, Jim Mandich at 1. Hank is back from Louisville. Hank will be on from 3 to 6:30. Baseball pregame at 6:30. The Padres in town to play the Florida baseball team at 7:05. 80K after baseball, and Joe and Mark, the Dirty Boys, overnight 2 to 6 in the a.m. And then we start all over 6 o'clock in the morning with Mohone. $750,000 bail a prosecutor wants for Reverend Shanley.
Witness, alleged victim or witness.
How do you like that? I sure hope the Archdiocese doesn't all of a sudden find that money real quick, since they're crying poor mouth to the victims. And Cardinal Law is making it up as he goes along. Bada beep, bada boop, it's that stuff. Here's a fax. Did you read this before you faxed this to me?
Yes, I did.
Here's an idea for a new poll, ways to get rid of Moe Howard. Now see, first of all, unlike other people on the station, I don't try to get anybody fired, either George or anybody else, including some of the other hosts. I've never played that game before and I'm not going to start now. But nevertheless, here's an interesting list. 1, choke him with his wig. 2, send him on a weekend trip to the Middle East. 3, sit him in a room alone and make him listen to the best of the Moe show. That should be painful. 4, hang him by his nuts. Oh, never mind, he doesn't have any. See? These are nasty, vicious. In fact, you know what they are, George? They're not nice.
No, they're not.
Signed from a Moe hater. P.S. I'm Hispanic and think you're hilarious and do not find you racist, so tell Moe to kiss your ass.
You can kiss my rear end.
There you go, Moe. That's for you, sweetheart. Kiss my fat old pimply ass. On second thought, stay the hell away. DCF worker told judge 5-year-old Rilya was fine after her disappearance. He said,
"Oh, we're fine."
Yeah. Miami, on this Judge Letterman, am I pronouncing that right, or is it Lederman?
I don't know.
Lederman, I think it's Letterman.
I think it's Lederman.
No relation to David, misspelling, Jewish. A child welfare worker in charge of a missing 5-year-old girl told a judge during the 16 months after the child's disappearance that the girl was just fine, the judge said yesterday.
"Oh, we're fine."
Nearly 2 months after Rilya Wilson was last seen in January of 2001, caseworker Deborah Muskelly, Circuit Judge Cindy Letterman ruled the child was in daycare. What is it? Caseworker Deborah Muskelly told I left the word out, didn't I? That's because of this damn article. That's because of the Sun Sentinel, okay? You know, when you print stuff out off your website at the Sun Sentinel, every now and then it leaves words off the edge of the page and it makes it like undecipherable and it makes everybody look like an ass, okay? I just mentioned that for the Sun Sentinel that really doesn't care about details and making mistakes. In a report submitted August 31st, 2001, Muskelly said Rilya's custodian was addressing her needs, the juvenile court judge said. Aside from everything else, she misrepresented the child's well-being to this court, Letterman said, and she was smoking. She was pissed off. In case you haven't seen that video about 500 times, she was fired up and pissed off. Detectives are now treating Rilya's disappearance as a possible homicide. Investigators are waiting for DNA test results from police in Kansas City, Missouri, to see if a girl found beheaded there last April was Rilya. The actions of Muskelly, who resigned in March for her performance in other cases, are among the targets of an investigation into Rilya's whereabouts. It is absolutely despicable what happened in this case, Judge Letterman said. Despicable. The judge said Rilya was ultimately the court's responsibility, but said she held the Department of Children and Families to blame and hinted that Muskelly could face charges of perjury and making false statements. Ed Griffith, a state attorney's office spokesman, declined to comment whether Muskelly is facing any charges, calling it a broad, ongoing investigation. The Department of Children and Families said Saturday that now it will require supervisors as well as caseworkers to visit every child's home, and caregivers and children old enough to write will be required to sign a log after every visit. They're going to make them sign their log. I think that's what the priests were doing too, weren't they? They said, here, sign this, son. Sign my log. God. And like I told you last week, when everybody was getting all psychotic and it was a horrible story about the girl that got killed and her boyfriend with his next life, crap happens every single day. There's more and more of these stories, whether they're white, Hispanic, they're black, whatever they are. It's grotesque and barbaric and unacceptable, but it's part of the American effing way. It's life. Life and death. Because it's a violent society with a bunch of animals running around with no respect for human life. 4 priests of the Joliet Diocese accused of sexual misconduct have been relieved of their duties, bringing to 10 the number of priests the diocese has removed amid a sexual scandal roiling the church. Diocese officials said yesterday. Roiling. Don't you like that word?
It's like boiling, but better.
Isn't that what they say in that CCR song? Roiling, da-da-da-da-da, yeah. I think that's what they be saying. Maybe they're just not pronouncing it right. See, there he goes again. How's that poll coming before I continue with this story? Do you have any problems with Neil's comedy bits or comments about race? Race. Not the horse race, not the derby. Race. Not Pompano Park. And here's the result so far out of 109 votes. No, and Howard David is an asshole, 65. That seems to be leading by a large margin. No, they're funny as hell, 32. Yes, he's a racist, 8. And no, I agree with him, 4. So 101 are like, don't have any problem with it. And then there's 8 folks out there who are still listening, but they think it's racist. They think it'd be bad. Anyway, getting back to this story from Joliet, Illinois. Last month, don't you love people that say Illinois?
No, I hate them.
Oh. And there's another thing about people from the Midwest, not that I want to generalize, but they have this way of pronouncing words like M-I-L-K. They pronounce the I as an E. They say milk.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard people do that?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Why do they do that?
I don't know.
Just like when Bill Cullen on Price is Right. I love Bill Cullen on the original Price is Right, but he was from the Pittsburgh area, and there's another Midwestern affectation they have like in Pittsburgh, which is not really the Midwest, but it's kind of like sometimes lumped in with it for some reason. And he used to say dollars instead of dollars. Dollars.
Dollars. Why do some people down here say Miami?
Oh, because they're
old
yahoos.
Crackers.
Yahoos. Well, they're not old crackers. Even Irv Schindler, an old Jew that used to work with me on KAT, he used to say WKAT, Miami Beach, Miami. And that's because he's a good old Southern Jew, I guess, that he would say that. Can I get back to this story, please? Since we've only got 7,000 child molesting stories. Last month, in a delayed response to lawsuits brought by alleged victims, Bishop Joseph Imesh of Joliet turned church files over to local prosecutors covering all cases of alleged sexual abuse by priests. No charges have yet been brought against them. Imesh and Auxiliary Bishop Roger Caffer informed parishioners of the affected churches during Mass on Sunday. Those removed were Father Edward Poff, a semi-retired priest who assisted with masses at St. Pat's Church in Joliet, who was accused in 1994. Father Lowell Fisher. Oh, and it goes on with a bunch of names of people that you won't know who they are. Just a bunch of child molesters alleged. Here's another one. Oh, jeez. And you know, when you're hearing all these stories and they're coming from all these different parts of the country, you're wondering, well, one of the stories going to come in from Green Bay and Kalamazoo and Rochester and Albany and you see what I'm saying? And Sioux City. See, we're only hearing a selected group, and obviously wherever there are priests, there are pedophiles. I hate to make that generalization, but I think I am.
Absolutely correct, sir.
I think I'm safe in saying that, since there seems to be this epidemic. For example, here's another one from Charlotte. Didn't we have one last week from Charlotte?
I think we did.
Because I was talking about the Carolinas and your affinity for North Carolina because you have a place up there and it's cheap.
In the mountains, right, and it's cheap and there's no people around.
A sixth priest in the Roman Catholic Diocese of Charlotte's been accused of sexual misconduct. How do you like that?
Oi!
Diocese spokeswoman Joanne Keene said yesterday the report stems from an alleged case of sexual abuse that occurred nearly 40 years ago involving a priest who since died. She said the diocese is required by law to turn over the allegation to we don't care about that. You know what I mean? That's not worth our time. We don't have time for that crap. There's too many dead child molesters. Let's stick with the ones who are alive. And for example, oh yeah, here's my favorite. This is the priest story of the day. Oh! Even more exciting than Reverend Shanley getting
indicted.
Hung on the cross there in Cambridge. Well, I was going to say arraigned, but that's not fun, you know. He's getting nailed to the cross. Wouldn't that be great? Do you think they would burn him at the stake in Boston, like down there in front of right in the middle of Copley Square, like I said the other day? I think that would be great. In fact, I'd like the match. It burns. Priest resigns over Mardi Gras picture. This is one of the great stories in the history of mankind. It's short, Houma, Louisiana. I wonder where the hell that is. H-O-U-M-A. Am I pronouncing that right?
No clue.
Houma, Humma. In fact, you know, the first person that ever told me about that place was Rimmer. Yeah, that's what he said. That's what he called it. Anyway, Houma, Louisiana. And see, when you're Louisiana, it don't make any difference how you pronounce names anyway, because everybody there is pretty much illiterate. A Roman Catholic priest has resigned as pastor of a church after a coffee table book showed him shirtless in a Mardi Gras crowd next to a drag queen and well-muscled men in biking shorts. Oh! The Reverend Thomas Botteri, 47, pastor of the St. Louis Church in Bayou Blue. Oh, I love them New Orleans names, don't you? Bayou Blue appeared in the book Masking and the Madness. The Diocese of Houma. Oh, I see. It's like one of those like Neenah, Menasha, Wisconsin. The Diocese of Houma Thibodaux feels that these photographs could be a source of scandal for some and thus prevent Father Botteri from effectively exercising his ministry. Well, that has like a little lilt to it, doesn't it?
A little.
Prevent Father Botteri from effectively exercising his ministry. Diocese spokesman Louis Aguirre said in a statement on yesterday. In a statement, Botteri said no allegations of abuse of any kind have been made against him. The photos were taken last year in New Orleans French Quarter, which is known for raucous partying on Mardi Gras and lots of faggery and drag queens and stuff like that. Parishioner Richard Luquette said he was troubled by Botteri's resignation. If you're going to judge somebody's dress at Mardi Gras, you must not be from here, Luquette said. If Jesus came to Mardi Gras, where would he be? I have a feeling he'd be right there. That's right next to the drag queen and the well-muscled men in biking shorts. Right about that? Oh! You bet. Don't you think he'd be there?
He'd be on a float.
In fact, didn't they always say that Jesus was coming back on a motorcycle? And for a while there, Jazz McKay was trying to, claim that he'd be him for a little while there. And I think the Cox people were buying it until they opened up that crypt. A state judge yesterday ordered Cardinal Law to be deposed tomorrow in the sex abuse case of defrocked priest John Geoghan. Oh! Suffolk Superior Court Judge Constance Sweeney, who's also, by the way, pissed off, just like Judge Letterman, ordered Law to answer questions in the case tomorrow morning, but denied a request by plaintiff's attorney Mitch Garabedian that Law be required to post a $10 million bond if he left the state. Sweeney said the court had significant concerns whether Law would be available for deposition unless it was ordered soon. His choice of whether he's available for deposition is not entirely belonging to him, she said. If the Pope tells him to go to Rome, he goes. She denied a request by the Archdiocese for a 7-day notice before the deposition. Garabedian, who represents 86 alleged victims of Geoghan, was pressing on with litigation following Friday's decision by the Archdiocese to back out of a settlement agreement. The Archdiocese Finance Council rejected the settlement agreement with Garabedian's clients because of concern about the growing number of people alleging clergy abuse. As we reported yesterday, they've only got 30 million. It might be like hundreds of millions. Meanwhile, another attorney representing 150 alleged sex abuse victims wrote to the Archdiocese of Boston to suggest a mediator be appointed to provide a vehicle for those alleged victims who want to settle their cases. The lawyer, Roderick McLeish, said many clients intended to pursue lawsuits, especially after the Archdiocese backed out of its settlement in the Geoghan case on Friday. So Cardinal Law, unless he's shipped off to Rome in the interim, will be, he's going to testify with the parliaments tomorrow morning. How do you like that?
All right.
He's going to have to be given a sworn deposition.
Is he going to swear on the Bible?
I guarantee it ain't the first time he's swearing, especially lately.
Were you fudge packing?
My guest tonight is the rare person who wouldn't have to change her name if she became a porn star. Jewel is here.
Yeah.
Where's the weirdest place you've ever had sex?
I love sex.
Really?
Yes.
There's something you practice every day?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you fall? I mean, are you good at it? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I'm so good at it now.
All right. Can you show me? I'm serious.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
So naughty, you guys.
Are you all right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you pissed off?
No. You should have sex in as many places as possible.
All right. Hopefully not with Carson Daly, though. We pray for that. It's 10:02 at 560 WQM. Happy Tuesday to you. Guess what's starting right now? Oh, there's Judge Letterman again.
About the status and well-being and placement of this child for 1 year. Why would you think I would allow the department to remove this child's sibling without my consent? Why would you even think that? And why would you try? What is the department hiding?
I had a girl. You go, girl. Boy, she's the best, ain't she?
I love that.
They keep showing that over and over again. As poor Willie, I mean, I don't think you see her no more, you know. Little 5-year-old girl. And I don't care what anybody says, but the fact of the matter is, George and I were discussing this before the show today, she's considered to be, well, like another little crack baby, and nobody cares, and we can't find a real father, and a mother, and grandma, and, you know, just another little kid lost in the system, vanished. Pathetic. And what I started to say is, Michael Skakel's murder defense could get a boost if members of the famous Kennedy clan to show up to support their relative, it says. This is from the AP. But prosecutors have their own asset in the charming and graceful woman who generates widespread sympathy. The trial is starting right now, this hour. Let's hear it.
Oh!
Finally. You think they're going to ever convict a Kennedy of anything? I don't think so.
Maybe this time. Just this once.
I don't think so. Dorothy Moxley, whose daughter Martha was bludgeoned to death at the golf club in 75, is expected to be the first prosecution witness to testify as Skakel's murder trial starts in just a matter of moments. This hour. Get on the edge of your seats. Moxley is not expected to offer concrete evidence, though her diminutive presence looms large. She campaigned, that sounds like something Defoe would say, it looms large. She campaigned for nearly 27 years to find her daughter's killer. Michael Sherman, Skakel's defense attorney, has recognized the sympathy factor. He repeatedly asked prospective jurors if they'd be swayed by a desire to provide Moxley closure, even if the state could not prove its case. Closure. As in, close your mouth, you're driving us nuts. I just think it's important for the jurors to understand it. To acquit Michael Skakel, they're going to have to look at her and make her unhappy, Sherman said. She's a factor in this case. I think it's better to address it than to ignore it. Now 41, Michael Skakel is accused of killing Martha Moxley when the defendant and victim were 15-year-old neighbors. Skakel is the nephew of Ethel Kennedy, who's crazier than a bedbug, by the way, and talks to Bobby through the psychics, through the mediums. She ought to be on that show. What's that quack show, which I still have no idea why they're after Miss Cleo, and yet they let this asshole on there.
Crossing Over.
What is that show?
Crossing Over with John Edward. That's not his real name. Crossing Over with John Edward.
Oh.
His real name is John McGee.
How can they put that on the air and assholes watching that crap? Talking to dead people on the air. That's even worse than the Imus show.